Hey everybody, JC here with another TNI toy review, and today we're taking a look at some of the new figures from the Four Horsemen's line of the Power Lords. Now those of you who aren't that familiar with Power Lords, this was an original toy line done back in the early 80s. I believe it debuted in 1983. Now, I've heard the name Power Lords, but I was never really familiar with the original toy line, so I don't really know a lot about Power Lords specifically. Now, the Four Horsemen have basically revised that line and are doing a new line of figures, basically 4-inch scale figures based on the Power Lords characters. The three figures that we're taking a look at today were originally offered as con exclusives. The big guy in the background, whose name, if I'm pronouncing it right, is Grunt. He was originally offered as this year's New York Comic Con exclusive. Then the other two figures shown here are the white guy is the Power Lords Elite Soldier, or Power Elite Soldier, and then the black and red guy is just a Power Soldier. And these two, I believe, were initially offered at this year's PowerCon convention as an exclusive. Now, as I mentioned, these figures are basically being done in a 4-inch scale. The regular figures here, the soldiers, they measure just about 4 inches tall, and then the Grunt here, who is a bit bigger character, comes in just at about 5 inches tall. Now these figures incorporate a system called the Plyo System. The Glyos pop and play system, which basically means, and if you've ever collected the Four Horsemen's like Outer Space line, basically it means that the parts on the figure will pop off and you can like interchange them with other figures and such. So basically the entire figure, you can disassemble the entire figure. So it's great for customizing and that type of thing, and just gives an added playability to the figures. And we'll go over in more detail all of that for all three figures. Okay, so we'll start off taking a look at the soldier figures in this line. Both of these figures are basically virtually the same as far as the body goes, the sculpting goes. They have different head sculpts, but the bodies themselves are basically virtually the same, with different paint jobs. The regular soldier is done in a black with red highlights, red on the mask, and then on the chest and the belt. And this is actually my preferred of the two, mainly because I just like black and red. But and then the elite soldier has again a different type mask, and then white and black highlights. And they both come with the same accessories. They both come with a rifle and a staff. Articulation wise, they have pretty good articulation, and again the joints all basically pop off, but the head basically is on a ball joint and can look left and right and up and down with no problem. Ball hinge joints at the arms, swivel hinge joints at the elbow, and then basically the wrist is fit in with a peg, but there's no hinge on the hands. And you got swivel at the waist section. You've got a T-crotch type design for the legs, and I think that has to do mainly because of the way of the Plyo system and the way it works, which we'll go over in just a minute. Single hinged knees, hinged ankles, which swivel, but not really in the not really any kind of pivot. But it does have good up and down movement, and you can swivel it. And the knees also swivel. So good articulation overall. But again, the real thing with these figures is the ability to basically disassemble them and exchange parts. So like for instance, with these two figures, the two soldier figures, you can basically assemble and then interchange the parts with each other, so you can kind of make, you know, your own unique figure. And the parts basically come apart at practically every joint. And then it comes apart at the waist here, and then the legs pop off here. And I think this is why they go with the T-crotch design, because the legs basically just pop off, and so you have just this waist piece. And then you can pull the feet off, and they just pop off pretty easily. You just pull them off. They're basically attached with little pegs, and then you can even pull it off at the knee here. So, like I said, then you can basically interchange the parts with other figures. So you can put the black helmet on the white body. You can give him black gloves. Of course, one thing you want to be careful of when you're disassembling these is that you not lose the pieces, which now I apparently have misplaced the black hand. Here it is, because I didn't attach it. So you can give them midsection, attach the white legs. You can even give them black shoes if you want. So again, a lot of customizing, potential with these figures. So you can kind of make your own unique figure, mix and match how you want. So that's a really cool kind of feature. Okay, so now we'll take a look at the Graptic Grunt figure. Now I believe this is one of the villains in the Power Lords line. I believe it's one of the foot soldiers. He works for a character called Graptog, or Griptog. And again, this was originally offered as a New York Comic Con exclusive. And there's another version that has a little bit variation of coloring, where this one has basically a pink body and purple arms. There's one that has a purple body with pink arms. And they're basically exactly the same figure other than the color variations. Now, like with the soldiers, this figure incorporates the Plyo System, and so you can pretty much disassemble the entire figure if you want. And in fact, you can even, he comes with this staff type accessory, and you can even pop off the top on the staff if you want. And for articulation, again, pretty much same we see with the soldiers. You can move. His head's on a ball joint, so you can move left and right, and he's got some up and down movement. Now he's got this collar thing, which actually is not removable from the body, but it doesn't really hinder the head movement at all. Again, standard ball hinge joints for the arms, but this uniform part that sticks out does limit some of the movement on the arms. But again, the arms will pop off. In fact, on this particular figure, will note that the left arm does pop off pretty easily, so you want to be careful with that. And he's got swivel at the waist, and then he's got a single joint elbow that swivels. Unfortunately, he has basically the two arms that kind of split off. There isn't any articulation there between the two arms. It's basically one piece. And then you've got the swivel at the wrists. And then, as I mentioned, he's got the swivel at the waist, and he's got the T-crotch design for the legs. And then he has, his legs are kind of designed kind of funny where they bend backwards, but he does have a joint there, a hinge joint at the knee, swivel hinge joint at the knee, but no ankle articulation at all. And then he's got 4 hands, 2 of which he can kind of grip his staff with. The other 2 are basically opened. And you can mix and match the hands. So you could have, if you wanted, you could have both grip hands on one side and both open hands on the other, or however you want. And as I said, the figure, you basically can disassemble the figure parts. Now, because this guy's bigger and he's got funky body parts, he really doesn't, the parts on this figure aren't terribly interchangeable with the soldier figures that I found. Even like the head sculpt, because he's got a bigger ball joint, because he's got a bigger head, isn't really compatible with these guys. So because of difference in scale and everything, these guys don't really have parts that they can interchange with each other very well. Okay, well, that about wraps up the review. Overall, I think these are pretty cool little figures. Again, I never really had any of the original Power Lords toys, so I can't really compare how well they stack up with the original line. From images I've seen of the vintage toy line, I think the Horsemen seem to have done a pretty good job of capturing the look and feel of that line. And if you're a fan of the Plyo System and that type of figure, then I definitely think these will be right up your alley. Now, these figures were sent to us by the Four Horsemen. As I mentioned, these were originally con exclusives, and for the most part, I believe, have pretty much sold out. So you probably will have to look at the secondary market if you want to try and get your hands on these particular figures. And because these were con exclusives and sent to us by the Four Horsemen, there's no packaging per se to show you with these. These basically came shipped in poly bags, clear poly bags. I believe the regular line, when they start to release them, will come on normal card backs, packaging like you see with their Outer Space Men and such. But with these figures, I don't have anything to show you like that. But again, I think it's a good line. Definitely, I think if you were a collector or a fan of the original Power Lords line, there's going to be a lot of nostalgia factor with these that you're going to like. Good posability overall, and like I said, the best thing is just how you can interchange the parts and kind of create your own figures and that type of thing. So that's my review. I hope you enjoyed it, and until next time, I'll catch you later.